All right. Hey
Hey,
guys. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We have a special treat for everyone that is joining. We've got a really awesome conversation with two companies that are really close to my heart and the mission. The missions are really they align. You guys will kind of see that in what we're talking about today. So my name is Leslie, if you don't know that already. I'm the customer success lead at strIQ, and I am also a financial educator with the WealthWave team. And so I genuinely do live at the intersection of both worlds that we're covering today. So here's the thing too. A lot of people assume that the biggest barrier to short-term rental investing is not having enough money saved for a down payment. But for many of us, the money's already there. It's sitting in your 401k, maybe in an IRA or your Roth. So today, we're going to show you guys exactly how to unlock that. So here's how we're gonna do this today. So Matt Sanderson, our CEO and founder of strIQ, is gonna walk through a real deal with real numbers, and then our WealthWave experts, Bronwyn and Brian, are going to break down the financial strategies to make all of that possible. Then we'll close with a Q&A. So make sure that you stick around, ask questions in the chat, because we also have some offers at the end as well, just for our attendees today. So there's no better way to start off than with one of Matt's great stories. So I am gonna hand it off to him and let him tell us about his property.
Well, I love stories. Real quick, did we want to do an intro of Bronwyn and Brian and me, or do we want to? Let's do that real quick, just so people know who we are, that we're not total strangers. Like I said, I'm the CEO, founder of strIQ strIQ. We're a technology data platform so that you can go find profitable properties really fast. Started out trying to solve my own problem and then realized all of you guys have that problem too. So we wanted to democratize that and make that available for you guys. And then Bronwyn, do you want to intro y'all real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited to be here. Thank you for having us. We're super excited about how these two worlds come together. But Brian and I own a financial services brokerage, really a financial education brokerage across the US, Puerto Rico, and Canada. We have around 600 insurance and investment agents personally. And we're here to truly educate on financial literacy. But today, bringing that financial literacy into how that connects with the short-term rentals and that world. Brian has been in the industry for 24 years, a long time. Yeah. So he's been through a lot of ups and downs and changes and all of that in the industry. And then I've been in the industry for 10 years. And I'm extremely passionate about it for this reason, is utilizing money how it's supposed to be utilized to live the lives that we truly want to live. So
I love it. Yeah. And yeah, I guess before I kick off my story, I mean, that's one reason I'm really glad to have you guys on this call, because our entire mission is to make short-term rental investing more accessible to everyone. And, based on the conversations I've had with you guys, that is very much y'all's mission too, just in a different way. It's just making things more accessible for people so that we can grow our wealth. So this is going to be a fun, interesting conversation. And like I said, I'll kick off with an actual story that I did, and then we can go into all sort of creative ways that you can leverage your retirement to invest in short-term rental. So, okay. So my College Station story, many people have heard about this, but this is an interesting twist to it that I don't think many people know. But when my wife and I wanted to buy a property in 2023, we got on strIQ, strIQ, and we found this property and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want to go buy this thing, but we had a problem. So Leslie, I don't know, next slide. So we had a problem. Well, actually, sorry, I think it was a little delayed. The major problem we were facing was we needed money. So strIQ solved the whole time and knowledge piece of it to find this profitable deal. But as many of you guys out there, I'm sure feel this pain. Sometimes we just don't have the money to go buy the property. And so either you got to go find capital partners, you got to just save it up. You've got to find interesting ways to bring capital together, because eventually we're all going to run out of our own money when we're scaling properties. And so I had an idea that was kind of interesting, that I was like, you know what? I had bought 2 properties before. And I was like, well, where am I going to get this cash to go buy the down payment and then put in the capital for this thing? So the idea was, well, my wife had some money sitting in her 401k. I think she had like $50,000 in her 401k. And I said, hey, babe, what do you think about maybe trying to tap into that 401k and go buy this property? And she said, you crazy? And I said, yeah. But then, as y'all will get into it, I'm obsessed with short-term rentals. I'm a big believer in them. They're not the only asset class you should invest in, but they're very lucrative and interesting if you do it right. I said, hey, I think we need to diversify a little. We can keep some of our money in the stock market. So how about instead of taking out all 50, let's just take out a portion of that and let's call Fidelity and see if they'll let us take this cash out and go buy short-term rentals. And sure enough, I'd never done it before. I called them up and they said, hey, you can actually take a loan against your 401k. You've got to be able to sell your assets, and we'll get into more like logistics of how you do it. But long story short, we had $50,000 there, but we were able to tap into $28,000 of that because we didn't want to take all of it. And within 7 days, I think it's on the next slide, we were able to take out $28,000 and go buy this property in College Station. And it basically was like half of our down payment to go get this thing. And what's fun is now it is making over $100,000 per year in revenue as a short-term rental. That is an actual screenshot that I took yesterday from my hospitable. But it's the cherry on top. And this is the fun part. We were able to get $29,000 in tax savings because of the STR loophole and bonus depreciation for buying that property. So basically I got more, well, basically the exact same amount that I took out in the loan is what I got in tax savings. And that is what you call infinite wealth or infinite whatever returns, because you're able to creatively finance these properties. And so through tax savings, I was basically able to cover the loan that I took out on the 401k. And that is a beautiful thing. So that is one example. Bronwyn and Brian are going to take y'all through some other interesting examples. But again, the whole point of this is capital we know can be a challenge to buy these things. And we want to help you guys unlock these opportunities through some of these creative ways, just like I did.
So this is the difference of someone having financial literacy on how money actually is supposed to work compared to most of our country that doesn't understand that because it's not in our education systems. Nobody's telling us, here's how you go and create more money from the money you're making or the money that you have. They're saying, just work every day and have this money and then stash it somewhere. Well, then what? What's the purpose to that, right? And you hear all the time people saying, I want to own property. I want to own rental properties. That's a very, very hot topic over the last couple of years, especially as companies like Airbnb and all of that have come on. We were just on there yesterday searching, and that world is crazy and exciting, but it allows people, everyday people, to come in and truly own businesses, because this is a business that you will potentially be investing in, but owning your own business and creating your own money. And that's exciting because now you're going to live a life that most never even thought they could. So to start that off, there truly has to be education on the foundations of how money works, of how your financial home is supposed to look. And so I'm going to go over a couple of those. A lot of us think, oh my gosh, everybody knows this. Everybody's supposed to know this, but only the ones that have been educated on it think that. You'll come to find really quickly, and we meet with people every single day that don't know the basics. Why? Society hasn't put it in front of us. So let's talk protection. That's making sure you have protection over your assets, over your household, over your life. Every day, if for some reason you cannot work, making sure those protections are in place. This is exactly like building a home. Speaking of rental properties, right? We've got to lay that foundation first before the structure can go up and before we can fill that home with furniture. So look at protection as that first layer. Then we talk about savings, emergency funds, what that looks like, smart saving strategies so that you can then go into things like this. Debt management. Do you have healthy debt? What is the bad debt? Looking at all of those rates that you're getting from the banks. And then retirement, those 401ks, those IRAs, pensions are a thing of the past. And so most of us in the working world have 401ks sitting there. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in 401ks, not doing things that they could do. Why? Because our HR departments aren't taught that. They're just taught to slide a piece of paper in front of you, sign on the dotted line, and then nobody tells you what it should be invested in the 401k or what kinds of things you could utilize your retirement for to make more money. And then wealth, right? Talking about real estate, short-term rentals, things like that. Now, how do we expand our investments to then leave generational wealth for our families as well? Next slide. Okay, so how that starts is every single time we sit down with a client, I don't care if you're living paycheck to paycheck or you're making millions of dollars, these simple concepts are so important to that foundation and starting to understand how your money works and how to make it grow for you. So there's a simple math equation that I believe should be taught in every single high school to graduate, because our economy would look very different and more people would be doing exactly what we're talking about today. So the rule of 72, you take the number 72 and you're going to divide it by the interest you're getting on your money. Banks use this against us all the time with credit cards, and I'll let you take credit card rates that you're getting and utilize this equation, and it will scare you and you'll want to pay off that debt. But take that number 72 and divide it by the interest rate you're getting on your money, be it in your 401k, and it's going to tell you how quickly that money is going to double for you. So let's take 6%, 72 divided by 6, it's going to take 12 years to double. 8%, 9 years to double. 10%, 7.2 years to double. So where is your money sitting and how quickly is it doubling for you? This can be utilized in anywhere that you're making money or you owe money. And we can talk more about that as towards the end you guys start meeting with us and all of that. But this equation changed my life overnight and how I looked at money. Then let's look at taxes. Uncle Sam wants his fair share in most parts in the world. But what we come to do is see how you can escape those taxes legally. And this is once again where you're putting your money to make it work for you, and how we can, exactly what Matt just shared on his story, get that tax back or escape it completely. So there's 3 different buckets usually on how our accounts look, our investments look. Tax now, tax later, and tax never. So tax now is going to be your stock savings accounts, right? You've already worked for your hard-earned money. Uncle Sam's taken the money that you owe. Tax later, 401ks, traditional IRAs that we're going to go into. A lot of people don't understand that when they sit down and look at their retirement accounts, they think that they're on track for retirement. But what you forget to look at is you don't know what tax bracket you're going to be in when you hit retirement age. Well, Uncle Sam's going to come back and he's going to say, well, I didn't tax you while it was growing, but give me that money now that you want to stop working. Unfortunately, a lot of people cannot stop working at that point, but the wealthy had an issue with this for a long time, and they came up with accounts and created things that are called tax never. So these are going to be insurance vehicles, using real estate to escape taxation. There's accounts that exist, Roths, right? The growth on your money is tax-free, tax-exempt. And so we teach on how those buckets affect your daily life. And then how do we utilize these different accounts to be able to then go into things like short-term rentals. Next slide.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump in here just real quick with just one more piece of this puzzle, because once you understand why short-term rentals are such a powerful vehicle, everything that we're going to talk about today is just going to make sense. So first, cash flow. A well-performing short-term rental generates a monthly income that exceeds your mortgage or carrying cost. That means money in your pocket every single month, not someday, not at retirement, but right now. Second, appreciation. Real estate has historically appreciated 3 to 5% annually. So while your property is paying you cash flow, it's also growing in value at the same time. And then third, we have tax advantages. This is where it gets really interesting, and something that Matt just showed you guys firsthand. Depreciation, deductions, and cost segregation can dramatically reduce your tax bill. In Matt's case, his tax saving actually exceeded his own payment loan. So then fourth, we have leverage. Real estate lets you use other people's money to amplify your returns. You don't need to fund the whole property up front. And then fifth, we have an inflation hedge. As cost of living keeps going up, rental rates go up with it. Your short-term rental income naturally rises with inflation, protecting your purchase over time. And then finally, wealth building, which is exactly why we're here today. Short-term rental assets can be funded directly through your existing retirement accounts. And that's the bridge between everything that Bronwyn just covered and actually owning a cash flowing property. So cash flow today, appreciation over time, tax advantages every year, and a vehicle that you can fund with money that you already have. And that's why short-term rentals work.
There is one more thing though.
Yeah.
Did you forget my favorite part about short-term rentals?
Memories. Yeah.
Memories. Hey, at the end of the day, like, we're all trying to make money, whatever. And we'll do that through short-term rentals and investing. But at the end of the day, one reason I love them is you can watch stocks go up and down. You can watch crypto go up and down. But short-term rentals is one of the only asset classes I'm aware of out there that you can actually go use and experience. Not everybody wants to do it, but think about investing in your family so you get the like quadruple whammy. I don't even know how many statements are here, but a lot. Tax savings, wealth building, cash flow, memories, I think is an amazing one that I think a lot of people forget. So
I agree.
It's awesome.
I agree for sure. All right. Brian, I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening, hopefully, if you're watching this and you're getting into the short-term rental space. I've been doing, like she said, investing and wealth management for 24 years now. And I always get the question of, what can I do more? What can I do more? You're taught from high school age, balance your checkbook, which we don't use anymore. You're taught to invest in your 401k at work because that's the number one thing employees do. They don't teach you how to use it, right? And then you hear about crypto. I don't even know what it is. How do they do it? I get all these questions throughout my career. And the main things always stand true, right? Real estate and stock market. Those are the main two things in our country that have always, over time, delivered on returns. So then I get two questions. One is, well, I want to grow my asset, or I need income from my asset. It's very hard to find investments that do both, right? Stock markets can go up, but when they're growing, they're probably not paying you an income. When you get up here, I want an income. Well, I can't grow it anymore because now I got to be safe. And I got to move to bonds or dividend paying companies. So you look at what we're talking about right today is you can actually do both. Like Leslie just mentioned, you can do both those things at the same time. And then like Matt mentioned at the beginning, the biggest hurdle that we find with lots of middle income families is, I don't have the money. I would love to get this property, buy a college or buy an amusement park or something that could be cool for memories for my family and for people that I know, or just for strangers that I want to have experience it. But how do I get access to that? So today, we want to show you some of the options that could be available to you if you have them already in your portfolios. The biggest one you already saw an example of is your 401k. Now, 401ks are all different, right? So you have to check eligibility. Every plan is different. Every company's plan is different based on what they choose for their options. But in most cases, you can have access to it, to a loan to yourself, to borrow the funds out, to do what you want to do with that. So simply you got to apply for the loan. It's very simple to apply for the loan. Most of the time, it's online through your provider's portal. After you do that, they're going to send you the funds. I mean, you just saw Matt got it in 7 days, right? So most of these big companies like Fidelity and Schwab and all these companies will have access to these funds for you. And by the way, it's your money. So don't feel bad about borrowing your own money to leverage it to get more stuff, right? That's how the wealthy operate. In my career, I try to take what the wealthy have done for generations and bring it to everybody else. You just heard there's two tax systems in America, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. We're trying to open up this curtain for you to see behind the curtains of what these folks have done. Now, maybe they've done it with massive towers downtown in big cities, but we're opening up to you to access things that are more readily eligible to buy and more eligible to rent, right? Versus those big buildings downtown, which are now empty as heck. So this is a space that is going to be growing for a long, long time. So after you've got the funds, right, as you get this money back, that repays that interest back towards the funds and repays the loan if you want to, or leverage it back into other properties if you want. That's up to you. It's just like a loan you would get from anywhere else. You're going to have a simple loan rate, which depends on the company that you work with. But at the same time, if it's paying your revenue back, you're paying the loan back, you put it back in your 401k, well, guess what? Borrow it again, right? Or leverage that money to go into something else. You got that cash flow opportunity now to do more things with that money. Now, you're going to have to pay it back at some point, whether you quit the job, terminate the job, right? It's still a loan, so you have to pay it back. But again, if you're building equity in the property and you want to leverage that, again, there's more conversations about this whole world that you could do. But just keep those main rules in your mind, right? There's probably a certain amount you can borrow based on the plan rules. There's no credit check because you're borrowing your own money. You're not going to check yourself if you've got loan problems, right? Interest paid back to your own account. There's no tax penalties if you repay it and do it on schedule. And of course, all this is laid out. There's no gotchas. It's very simple, and it's through your company. Like I said, Fidelity, Schwab, Principal, all those companies are doing the loan. So it's not like a side company lending against your 401k. It's the actual 401k provider doing that. And then you could also repay the loan based on your income. So say, hey, I want to have my cash flow from my properties go back into my properties, and I'll just repay my loan out of my paycheck, right? And then let that investment do its thing, and I'll repay the loan. And then once I repay that loan to myself, I'll borrow it again for a second property or third property, right? And start doing that.
So to pause on that, what you're saying is that as they're automatically getting these distributions to their 401k, instead of them paying separately, whatever these distributions are going can just go towards paying that loan back, who really is going towards paying themselves back, right?
Right. You're just paying yourself back, or you could just pay it out of your pocket.
Yeah.
It's like another cost to like a car loan. And then you're letting that other money grow and accumulate to where that money could now buy another property from your asset. And then your 401k you've repaid. Now you're borrowing. So now you've got three properties. The property funded one and you again funded one.
Or maybe even the tax refund you get from the government. Pull that.
Amen. There's all kinds of options when you look at this.
So,
this
yeah.
opportunity.
I love how excited Matt gets.
Yeah.
Oh, always excited.
So another strategy, right, is self-directed IRAs and self-directed Roth IRAs. Those can be opened up by several different companies. Basically, you open up and then you control what your IRA is doing. Keep in mind, for this particular option, it's probably one that you've been funding already. The max you can fund into a Roth every year is $7,500 with the current tax rules. So to get a down payment, if you find one that's $7,500, awesome for you. It may be a little bit more, so it may take you some time to get that in the account. But if you've already got an IRA or an old 401k, you can roll that into an IRA, declare it a self-directed IRA, and then you can actually use that to go out and identify options through strIQ. And then all of a sudden you're looking at short-term rentals that you can go out there and buy. Now the IRA or the Roth IRA is the owner of the asset. The returns go back into the IRA or Roth IRA. And so you're basically putting that back, but it's the same tax treatment, right? Like Bronwyn mentioned, the IRA, the growth on the home is tax deferred. The income that you make on it is tax deferred. And then you end up paying taxes at age 60 or 59 and a half if you want to start drawing the income out or sell the property. On the Roth side, it's already after tax dollars. So this is the one, if you can get into this, is now the earnings on the appreciation on the home is tax-free and tax-free at the back end. The income generated is tax-free and tax-free on the back end. So some things you might want to look at is if you have an IRA right now, is what they refer to as backdoor Rothing that right into a Roth IRA, paying Uncle Sam now, purchasing the asset as a Roth asset. Now there's no more taxes due to Uncle Sam on the growth of that asset for the rest of your working life. And so again, two tax systems, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. Sitting down with professionals is the best way to find out how it affects you personally, your future assets, your income generation, and of course, legacy planning. If you buy properties that stay in your household, you could then leave that through trusts or will structures to where your kids are continuing those things on for the next generation. And then again, wealthy, you're creating generational wealth, leveraging your money to help your kids now get a leg up for their futures as well. So another great option to utilize to get it in the programs.
And just for clarity, there's no limit to self-directed IRA, right? You can, for however much you've got in there, you can just go invest.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. And
Where
it's, like you said,
401k is up to $50,000 per that account, right?
correct.
So two spouses, you could probably have 50K here and the 50K here, but the self-directed is not capped.
Correct. Yep. There's a couple little rules to keep it right. IRA, like, you know, commingling funds and things, right? But other than that, no. If you leverage that asset, and like you said, diversifying. I mean, I'm obviously a huge lover of the markets, but sometimes people want to diversify into real estate, and the best way to do that, outside of the crazy things like flipping homes or buying a 400-unit apartment building, is what you're talking about. This is a much easier way to leverage your assets to get into the market space, feel comfortable in the market space, create memories around things you want to own, right, and feel proud about. And it's a great program you created. So
two questions that you don't necessarily have to answer now, but maybe we could come back to them in the Q&A, is tax treatment, how that would happen on this, and then also partnerships. Could you? Oh, the balloons are going off for some reason. Hey, it must have been a good question. Partnerships, if that's even possible with the self-directed IRA, if you were to do like a 50-50 partnership, because I see a lot of capital people that want to invest but don't want to do anything, and then all these operators that want to invest but need the capital. And so I wonder if you could pair the two together. So maybe think about that, and we'll come back on the Q&A.
Oh, this would be too.
Yep.
So, so look at the options, right? We just covered a couple, and there's plenty more options out there that you could utilize to find assets, for sure, to leverage the program. But on these two, it's really looking at really the best asset for you, and it might be a conversation with some wealth managers or tax advisors, right? And so if you look at that, like Matt said, there's a maximum in your loan, and you may not want to use the entire 401k if you have access to it. I'm still a big believer in leveraging those retirement assets for retirement assets, but also diversifying out, right? I mean, you look at things right now, NVIDIA and the top 10 tech stocks are at all-time highs. They're at the exact same height of the bubble that the .com stocks were back in the 1990s before they crashed. So not saying AI is going anywhere, but that's right. It's a red flag in our world that they may be overvalued at some point. So maybe taking some of the earnings you've gotten in those spaces and leveraging them into some real estate spaces might make sense. So looking at your 401k loan that way, again, look at the rules. We're happy to dive into it with you. Look at what the options are, see what you can and can't do. And then on the self-directed IRA option, again, you own it. The IRA itself is the owner of the property. Depending on if it's an IRA or Roth IRA, we'll decide tax treatment at the end of the day when you go to pull funds or equity back out of those. You can use the full balance. There's not a limit on that. Or it might be a combination of both. You may say, hey, I'll take some of my assets out of my 401k and some of my assets out of my IRA and leverage those both together. Now that might take some help from a CPA to decide how those two things fit together and can fund it, right? Because if the IRA has to own it, how do we do that? But it also might be two different properties. Again, there's all kinds of options. It's just kind of sitting down and figuring out what's most comfortable for you and what you can do with your current portfolio.
So let's just go over what the process would look like for you to be able to do that. I know, Matt, you figured all of this out, through trial and error. There wasn't much error, thank goodness.
Before AI,
Yeah, before AI. Chatty didn't tell you how
Google.
to do it.
Yeah.
But so it's pretty simple. And again, this is things that most advisors, most people are not talking about. One thing I want you to remember when it comes to traditional financial firms out there, they are taught how to stay in their realm, in their box, in what they're taught to do. And so you may possibly have an advisor on your retirement accounts that you would even mention this to, and they're like, give you a hard time. We deal with this all the time when we get into people's accounts and all of that, to be able to get another company to understand what the client wants to do. Well, they want to keep your whole asset in there. Why? Because they're making a percentage every month on managing your assets, be it your 401k at work. Even if you don't know this, there is an advisor over that 401k that has never spoken to you in your entire lifetime. And when you ask HR who it is, they give you the contact, and you may call them for 2 years and nobody talks to you. Eventually, when you get through, because you want to do something with this money, you'll move it to an advisor that actually has their hands on it and has you involved with the options in there. they will immediately give you a hard time. They're going to say, don't look at these, don't move them, and they'll make it difficult. However, this is where financial education comes in. Have an advisor like us be on the phone with you, representing you. Like Brian said, this is your money. You get to choose what you do with it. Your advisor or us is just the helping piece to advise on what the best strategies are to meet the goals that you have. It is not our place to tell you what your goals should be. It's our place to educate you on what we think it should ideally look like. There's going to be 10 ways to get to that goal. It's up to you at the end of the day on how you want to make that money work for you.
Mhm.
So how these phases will look is phase one, we're going to go through a financial needs analysis, go through debts, income, retirement, protection, everything that you may or may not even have in place, and bring a plan around that. So truly looking at what right now looks like and what you want the end goal to look like, and build a plan around that. And then account strategy and setup. We set up all the right account structures. We look at your current 401ks. We see what different options you have in there. We can advise on what the positives and negatives are. And then at the end of the day, like we said, you make that decision. And then after that, you're going to meet with your short-term rental partner, like Matt and Leslie, and they're going to educate you on that end. Now that I've been like Matt, borrowed that $28,000 out, what are my options to be able to go in there? These two coincide with each other so that we're talking with the advice on our side financially, and Matt and his company are talking to you what your options are here to make it a reality. And then you enjoy income and growth. This is a massive opportunity. We had no idea before we met Matt and his company that the extent that you could go into to be able to make this a reality. And we're excited to be able to now offer this to people around us in our communities as well. Like Matt said, this is where education comes in. This is where alignment comes in. This is where excitement comes in, that these worlds exist and that they come together. Next slide. So booking your complimentary financial needs analysis, there is no cost for this. No cost, no obligation. We truly just want to sit, hear your goals and what you want that to look like. And then we're going to put a plan in place and leverage those assets to make real wealth a reality for you. So what we go over, like I just said, reviewing those accounts, it's really important to work with an educated financial advisor that does not just stick you in a box and gives you all of your options. You do not know how this all works unless you're sitting with an educated person. Identifying borrowing and the investing capacity that you have, looking at those taxes, what buckets you're sitting in right now, diversifying those buckets, and then connecting you obviously with strIQ, and then building the personalized strategy. You will walk away after one appointment with us with an understanding of what these next steps are going to look like, and truly making your goal of making those memories a reality and making the life you have dreamt of becoming real for you and your family. Like Matt said, that's the most important part. Everything else is just the structure, but that's the cherry on top, is creating a life that most people will never, ever even live.
So I listened to a lot of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy. By the way, Ken McElroy, all of y'all need to look him up on YouTube. He's amazing. So they have been like giants in my mind of just some incredible people when it all comes back to financial literacy, like we mentioned at the beginning, because I'm just a dude from Lubbock, Texas, Recom Tech. Didn't even go to tech. My dad's a farmer, grew up with like nothing. Still a great life, but I did not know any of this financial literacy stuff until I started just reading books and meeting, smart people like you guys. And then, figuring it out on my own that you can leverage against your 401k, you can do self-directed IRAs, you can invest in short-term rentals and get $50,000 refunds from the government because you just bought a property, which basically covers your down payment. Like I was like, you got to be kidding me. I didn't know you could do all this until I just stumbled into it. And so hopefully through all of our experiences doing this, you guys can have a massive head start wherever you're at in your life so that you can go accelerate your wealth. But yeah, this is what it's all about. So we're going to dive into Q&A. And so if y'all have any, one thing I was going to say, one thing that was interesting about the self-directed IRA before we go into Q&A, the reason I had borrowed against my 401k to buy a short-term rental, but when I was fundraising for strIQ about a year ago or 2 years ago, a guy actually invested in my company through his self-directed IRA. And when I'd received the funds, we finalized the paperwork, I was like, I didn't even know you could invest in startups or like invest in companies through that. So anyway, my mind has just been opened over the years. And so that is even another opportunity as startups are, AI is getting out and accelerating. Startups are happening all over the place. That's even another opportunity, even outside of short-term rentals that I had just become aware of within the last couple of years. So lots of interesting stuff. So I'll stop there and we'll get into Q&A.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so Shilk's Services, I hope that they answered this question. They asked, do y'all touch on or suggest using self-directed retirement accounts? I don't know if you want to kind of reiterate on that just to answer that again, or...
Yeah, you can. I mean, like obviously self-directed IRAs and Roth IRAs work. There's also might be options that your 401k offers a self-directed brokerage account. So while you're actively working at there, it might be able to allow you to allocate some of your funds into a brokerage account. Now, the brokerage account may limit you to stocks and bonds, but it also may open up other avenues. Again, every plan's different. So we need to actually call the provider and ask what your plan allows for your specific company's plan. Because each company, like I said, they check these boxes of what they want to allow their 401ks to do. And if they don't check one box, then they don't allow that. And what's also awesome is you can probably submit a letter to HR if they want that box checked, because HR could probably say, oh, cool, we just didn't know. So they'll go and then check that box, which will allow you to do it in the future.
Cool. And then there was another question that came in that's kind of along those same lines. Audrey said, I've heard using self-directed IRA, you can't self-manage the short-term rentals because the rules are very strict. Brian and Brian, I don't know if you guys know anything about that. Matt, you might be able to speak.
Said you've got to be more hands-off if you use self-directed IRA. Is that what the question is?
It was that you can't self-manage the STR. So you probably would have to use a property management company.
Yeah, I think that's true, because when the guy invested in strIQ, he made it clear, because I had talked to him about maybe coming on operationally. And he's like, hey, I think legally, like, I don't think I can help kind of arm's length, be a partner, but I don't think you could hire me. So I think that is true. There needs to be some arm's length to that.
Yeah. So let me just reiterate the fact, I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a tax professional. So for tax stuff, you have to actually ask the tax person, because those things change all the time. But from what I understand, the current rules where if you use a self-directed IRA or Roth IRA, correct, the funds that you use to make repairs on the home, upgrade the home, have to be from the Roth. The income earned have to go back to the Roth. You can't commingle personal funds with IRA funds, meaning you can't just go and buy the furniture from your personal bank account and put it in. It has to come from your Roth or your traditional IRAs, and it all stays. So think of it like it's self-contained entity. It's running itself. It's running it out of its own account. And the government, again, right now, if you commingle, there could be an issue. They say, oh, well, now we see what you're doing. Now you owe us taxes on all that. So just again, like your partner in that, yes, you can do those things. It's very much make sure the paperwork is correct, because the government allows it. All the wealthy are doing it, but they just have good attorneys. So same thing. Just make sure you cross your T's, dot your I's, and you should be okay.
Yeah. And then let's see, where did it go? Using a self-directed IRA, all of the cash flow has to go back into the IRA. Is that correct?
As far as I know, again, I'm not a CPA, but from the research I've done, correct, it all has to go back in and self-contain into the IRA.
Unless that's why I want to bring up the partnership thing, because say a self-directed IRA, someone's got a bunch of money there and it's like, I don't want to do nothing. Plus they can't operate it, right? So they go buy this thing. Could they do a 50-50 partnership? Well, I guess they couldn't be the owner of that other 50. So that answers the question. You probably have to take all the capital back.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and
what
you
a
think
loan
about it
tends
just
to be.
like any other IRA. If you have it in stocks or you have it in any other stuff, the government wants it to stay there till 59 and a half, and then they're going to tax you as you take it out. Or the Roth, right, 59 and a half without a 10% penalty, and then it's tax free. But they want all that to stay inside that same thing so they can track the taxation or
Yeah.
penalties that.
Hey, that does bring up another comment that I want to mention, because one of my advisors was telling me, he's like, Matt, the baby boomer generation right now is like the wealthiest generation like ever. And they've got tons of money in the markets, but they're all getting to the age where they're going to have to start pulling it out, or they already are, which a lot of them did not have like the Roth opportunities, at least till later. And so a lot of them are going to face like massive taxation. And so he's like, hey, honestly, a lot of these baby boomers should start, as they're pulling out some of these funds, just go invest in short-term rentals and then use the tax loophole to like shelter all that stuff. So that is one thing I want to bring up, depending on where you are in your age. If you're having to be forced to pull money out now at a later stage, you can leverage short-term rentals to shelter that, including I'm actually about to do a photo shoot with my father-in-law at his new lake house. He's got a huge lake house on Lake Conroe that he was going to sell it. And I was like, hey, why don't you just turn that into a short-term rental? He's like, that's not a bad idea. So he is, and he's going to save like 200 grand in taxes by just converting it. So anyway, just something for y'all to be aware of.
Yeah. Well, and this is where it's so important to do a financial needs analysis, to have a discovery call so that you have advice on, this is what I want to do. This is the accounts that I do have. Now we need to talk about, okay, do we get your CPA and us or your financial advisor and strIQ on one call to be able to discuss how we implement all of this and what your options are. Don't think you're just going to jump in and throw money at it and pull money out of your account and not have any consequences. You've got to truly make sure you are financially educated on what the steps are to be able to make that happen. And that's why we really, really advise to have a financial needs analysis done so that all of these questions can come up and you can go about it the right way.
Right. Yeah. Another here says, can you tap into 403B as you can with a 401k?
Yes. As far as my research has shown, you can tap into it similar to your 401k if your plan allows it. So school district, nonprofits, depending on what it is, that plan will say, and it's got similar rules up to 50,000 or 50%.
Can you explain 403B first?
Well, that's like teachers. Usually it's like school districts, hospitals, nonprofits. That's like their 401k basically.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
You have to remember, so all of these 403Bs, 401ks, TSPs with the military, it's just tax wrapper numbers. That's what they're called. They all work very similar.
Gotcha.
So, but very individual basis. That's where in the financial discovery, we'll be able to see who the plan's with, what school district it's with, what state it's in. All of that matters.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of more questions. David asked, have you dealt with ROBS program using your 401k money to invest in your own company? Like we all do now, investing in other companies, needing to set up a C Corp?
I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately.
Okay. And then let's see.
Stay tuned on that one. Well, I need to go research ROBS.
Yeah.
Not clear on that one.
And then Greg asked, if you wanted to access more than the 50K allowed in a loan from your 401k, would you recommend doing a withdrawal from your 401k?
Oh man, that's tricky because you probably have some penalties involved with that and taxes on top of it if it's not the Roth option of the 401k. So again, that's just mathematics and planning. So look at the ROI on the short-term rental against what you're giving up on the front end. Again, it could depend. I'll leave it at that. It's just do the mathematics and see if it.
Brian, real quick, taxation on Roth style 401k versus like a regular traditional. I think the taxation on, well, there's the amount that you've actually put in, right? Versus like the amount that's grown. So my understanding was that with the Roth style, whatever you've put in would be taxed at like 10%, maybe. or the growth on 10%. So like, do you know the difference on that versus like the other? Because I know the taxation on the regular is like way more, but it's less painful, I guess, on if it's after-tax money in a 401k.
So really, there's two ways you're paying taxes, because you can't really get out of taxes altogether. When we say tax never, it's because you paid the taxes up front and you never pay it again on the back end. So with the Roth option, if you're talking about 401k, and some don't allow it, so check your plan as well. But if they do allow it, your contributions are after-tax dollars.
Yeah.
So you're paying Uncle Sam income on your current tax rate. So that could be 10, 15, 20, whatever your current tax rate is. Then you're never taxed on any of the gains, and you access your contributions with no taxes. So for younger folks, that's a home run, right? We have zero clue what the tax rate will be 30 years from now. And if I ask you right now, do you think taxes are going to go up or down in the future? You're probably going to say up. I mean, our country's at 36, almost $37 trillion in debt. It's expected to go to almost 50 trillion by 2040. So, and I don't care who's in office, folks, they all spend money. No one's trying to lower the budget. They're all just spending the cash. So pay Uncle Sam now and never worry about it again. On the traditional side, they're saying, hey, don't pay us now. Like, grow this big crop of money, and then we're going to tax that crop when you start taking it out at the back end. So it would work the same way if it's withheld, if the property is held in a Roth, it's already after-tax dollars. So you're buying it with after-tax dollars, and it's going to grow. And the appreciation grows tax-free. Your cash flow is now growing tax-free. And then all that is tax-free on the back end if you sell the property.
Yeah. But I will say, like one particular example, whether it's a Roth IRA or a 401k that's like Roth style, again, I'm not a financial advisor, just experience. So tell me if I need to be quiet, Brian and Bronwyn. But my experience has been, if it's a Roth IRA or a Roth style 401k and you've got $70,000 in there, whatever, more than the 50,000, if you wanted to pull it out, I mean, if it were me, I would probably just do the loan against it if you could. But if you wanted to pull it out, like with a Roth, there's probably a 10% penalty.
Correct.
But knowing the tax advantages with the STR loophole, it may be worth it. So like what Brian was saying, based on the math, you know, it actually may be worth it. So you just got to run the numbers and see if you're going to get enough taxes to really make it worth your while. Right.
And what you're hitting on is both IRA and Roth IRA currently have a 10% early withdrawal penalty if you use the funds before 59.5, if you withdraw them before 59.5. So yes, you've already paid taxes. So if you withdraw those funds on the Roth side, you're only paying a 10% penalty at that point. So yeah, but I think the question was, if I reach my 50% threshold, should I borrow the rest if I want to? But to Matt's point, maybe, right? Let's do the math on
individual basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we've got just a couple minutes here left, and so one of the questions that I was going to end on was, who do you suggest opening a self-directed account with? I think that is a great question to kind of end on and let you guys know the next steps from here, right? So those of you that aren't a part of our strIQ community, we do have a free community on School. You can scan that QR code and join hundreds of investors just like you, ask questions. There's live AMAs, market intel, all kinds of stuff in that networking community. And then to help you answer that question, the complimentary financial needs analysis, you would sit down one-on-one with one of us from the WealthWave team. And like Bronwyn said, go through accounts and your goals and map out a path to achieve those wealth goals. So I'll leave this page up so that you guys can scan those QR codes. And on behalf of everyone here, myself, Matt, Bronwyn, and Brian, thanks everybody for joining, participating, asking amazing questions. This was a great conversation. And we're all here to help. So whether that's on the strIQ end, helping you guys find your next investment, or on the WealthWave side, helping you with that financial literacy and achieving those goals, we're here for you. So thanks again. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having us.
Great time. Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Talk to you soon. Bye.